I really want to give everyone a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about stuff that happened to my mom and my grandpa in residential school. So if you're uncomfortable with those kind of conversations, I just need you to know that I'm going to be talking about sexual assault and abuses that my family faced in the schools and stuff that I went through. So just a heads up, and if you need someone to talk to you after the meeting, there's a bunch of people here that are more than willing to sit down with you. Don't be afraid to reach out, because it's some really heavy stuff, but I've learned that through sharing stories like this, I'm lightening the load.
I had a auntie that went missing 8 years ago, and we looked for 4 years, and they finally found the guy. It happened in Alberta on my reserve, Wabasca up north, and he hid her body with him on his property for 4 years until it was found. And he was just sentenced last week, and he only got 6 months, and they had to push just for 3 years. Yeah, that's all they had to say.
My family, they went to St. Joseph's Residential School. My aunt was the one that started the orange shirt movement. And it means a lot to me, because growing up, I heard, stories of what happened to them in the schools. Something that happened to my mushroom. He's got a permanent stutter now, because when he was in residential school, they tied him to a furnace and they horsewhipped him until they blew his eardrums for speaking his language. And then after he was beaten, they would assault him daily, and they would tell him that God chose him for this, and this is why he had to go through it. So you kind of have an understanding of why Indigenous people have a hate for the church and for residential school and for the stuff that's happened to us.
To know that there are Indigenous people that relate to the things I do, and to be worried about whether or not going outside and stuff. There's police too. I'm scared for my life whenever I see a cop car, because I've heard of terrible things, and I'm scared of the health system too. One of my friends and I, we went to the hospital for help, and they got better treatment than me, and it's because they were Caucasian. They got a bed, they got their blood work done. I was just talked to and told I was free to go, which is a really big thing, because I shouldn't be scared to go to a hospital. I should have better help too, the same amount of help as anybody else. But it's hard for us. But I hope that one day it'll be better, and that we'll both be treated equally, among other things.
Growing up, when kids, they crawl into bed with their parents, we couldn't do that, because my mom was a fighter. So whenever the priests would come in to rape her, she would put up a fight. And when I was a kid, we used to always do that. We'd try and crawl into the bed with our mom, and the first time my baby sister did it, my mom kicked her across the room, and that's when my mom really understood that we gotta start healing. And that's what this is about. It's not about trauma dumping, it's about healing, because I can't carry these stories alone.
A big influence for me for dancing was my sister Tanisha Walker. She was murdered here in the city when she was 17 years old. So that's the reason why I continue dancing. I continue dancing for her spirit, and continue dancing for my family as well. The person that did it only served 4 months in jail and was released. So it really hits hard, especially like every time when I dance. It reminds me of the reason why I continue dancing. So when I'm out there, I'm always have her in my mind.
My mom used to beat the shit out of me. And it wasn't because of me being her kid, it was just because I reminded her of the people that hurt her, because I'm a man. And I don't blame my mom, or I'm not mad at her. Because she did the best that she could with what she was taught. I grew up on East Hastings. My dad, he was a drug dealer and he was murdered when I was 9. We didn't really get to. I'm the only one in my family that got to know him, so it's been a hard 20 years because, you know, I have my other siblings, my sisters asking questions about him, and I don't know what to say. Like, he beat up my mom. And that's the kind of stuff that I witnessed as a child, was, you know, my mom getting beat and then her taking it out on me. So it was just this vicious cycle of abuse. And that's the kind of stuff that we as Indigenous people face. When you see an Indigenous person getting mad, when you see them losing their temper, it's that child inside of them that's trying to protect them. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is that we've been through so much trauma that when you see an angry Indigenous person, they're not angry, they're just trying to protect themselves because we've been through so much. And it's in our DNA. All of that stuff was passed down to me from my grandma, from my grandpa, from my mom, my dad. And that's what this is about healing and learning. Because not only have I gone through all of that abuse, but I've come out. You know, I was homeless here in Edmonton. I lived in the River Valley. I lived in Calgary River Valley, Westbridge River Valley. I was homeless in Vancouver, Seattle, all because of my addiction. I'm an ex-gang member. I've recently come out as Two-Spirit, and it's really hard for me because of the lifestyle that I lived. You know, being in a gang, being on the streets, being in and out of jail. You can't be queer, trans, Two-Spirit. You can't be any of that stuff because you got to be hard and you got to carry this mentality. So that's why I'm grateful for this place, this family that I've built. My mom, she said that she was proud of me for doing this because she hasn't dealt with what happened to her in residential school. Her big focus is just staying busy. And if you stay busy, you don't have to think about it. It doesn't work like that. I've gone through so much therapy and counseling, and I'm still healing. I still have my moments, I still get mad, but I've gotten to the point where I've been able to turn to ceremony, I've been able to turn to my people. I got my people here. I got my tribe that I've built. I got Shelly, I got everyone here at Chew. This is who we are. We're strong people, and everything that we've been through just shows that we are who we are. I've had to go to 5 different treatment centers to get this sobriety thing right, and I still don't got it down. So But yeah, I went to, because of the self-hate that I was taught, I went to 4 different treatment centers before the 5th one kind of kicked in. But I went to all white treatment centers. I wanted to be like you. I hated who I was, what I am, everything about me. I hated the color of my skin. I wanted to keep my hair short. I wanted to be white. I wanted to be everything but Indian, because at a young age I was taught to hate what I am. When I was a kid growing up, after coming home from my grandma's, my Ketta's, my mom, she would freak out on us and like smack me in the mouth and tell me not to speak her language because of what happened to her in a residential school. I don't know my language. I don't know what it means to be Indian or indigenous, whatever the hell you want to call us. I mean, people tell me that I can't call myself that, but it's on my fucking status card. If you got a problem with me using the word Indian, go tell the government to take that word off my status card. It's hard. I have, like, I've had people make comments like, well, you're Indian, you should know how to do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, dude. I go to the fucking grocery store and I buy groceries. I've recently started hunting, but y'all don't know how to be Indian. A lot of us are urbanized. A lot of us didn't grow up in that way. I fortunately did, because when I was staying with my grandma, my cat, when I was younger, my ba'a or my mushum, they were in traditional, they were Sundance. My grandpa's a Sundancer, a pipe carrier, a lodge keeper. So I was introduced to a lot of this at a young age. So when I was a kid, and I was sent to live with my cat, told me, she said, if you pray for your mom, if you go to that sweat lodge, if you go to Sundance, if you do ceremony, your mom will sober up. I fucking prayed. Like, I was at every sweat that my grandpa put on. At 8 years old, I was doing every round. I was at Sundance. I was at every ceremony that they could take me to. And it was hard growing up because my older brother and my cousins would pick on me and they'd make fun of me. It's just what we do in our community. And I took it the wrong way as a kid, so I thought my people hated me and we hated what we were, so I had to be ashamed. But my mom got her life together. That's why I believe in this medicine. I believe in our ceremony. I believe in dancing. I believe in Sundance. I believe all of this. Because I fucking prayed for my mom. And I don't tell many people this, but every weekend, every Sunday, I would have a Sundance. I was there. I was there praying for my mom to get better. I was praying for her safety. And now me and my mom have one of the best relationships you could ask for. I call her up every other day and we just shoot the shit. And we talk about how we're changing and how we're getting more involved in who we are. My mom is in her 50s and last month was the first time that she stepped foot in a sweat lodge. And she told me it's because I believed so much. I went fishing for the first time this year. I got to go dip netting. It was, my brother said that this is the most fish that we've caught in years. And I honestly believe it's because we prayed for it at Sundance. We caught 100 salmon in one night. And I believe it's because of the sacrifices that we made, the sacrifices that we make dancing. When I did Sundance this year, we fasted for 4 days. A lot of people are like, are you crazy? But it's like, no, dude, this is who we are as Indigenous people. This is what we do. We sacrifice for our loved ones. We sacrifice for our community. When this guy dances, he's making a sacrifice. He's putting his body through. Dancing isn't easy. It's hard on the body, but it's healthy for the soul. reconciliation isn't about saying sorry. It's not about money. It's not about property. It's not about stuff that we own. Reconciliation is just making it right and building an understanding with the people that are hurting. Because a lot of us Indigenous people were hurting. We're trying to heal. And that's what this is about, is bringing people together to heal and to understand what it's like to be Indigenous, what it's like to go through the adversities that we face and how we come out on top through tradition and culture and reaching out and leaning on other Indigenous people. Because before colonialism, we were a strong community. Everybody had a role. And there was none of this like, oh, like you're a berry picker bullshit. No, you're a berry picker. You're an important part of the community. I'm Squamish Nation. When I hear people say, oh, I'm on the bottom of the totem pole, it really pisses me off, because everybody's equal on that totem pole. There's no better than, there's no higher. It's all equal. I may have some knowledge that you don't have. You may have some stuff that I don't have. But I'm no better or worse than any of you. I'm just here trying the best that I can, just like the next person. And I hope that you have an understanding of what Indigenous people have gone through, because it wasn't just my mom, my dad, my kia that went through that kind of abuse. Blue Quill Residential School. There's a few up north that they found bodies at. So when you see Indigenous people, when you see us getting upset, when you see us getting angry, instead of looking at the Indigenous person as a man or a woman, look at them as a child, because they're just scared. That child is trying to protect them from whatever, and if they're losing their mind, go up and be like, hey bro, do you want to smoke? You want to de-escalate the situation, be like, hey, do you want a cigarette? I got one. And just sit down and listen to them. Don't fucking try and save our lives. We don't need anyone to fucking save us. That shit pisses me off. Sorry about my language, but it does. Like, we as Indigenous people, we can walk, we can talk, we have hands, feet. We don't need saviors. We just need people to listen with open hearts and understand that we're just trying to heal and become better. So, heal and become better with us. It's kind of all I had to say. I was going to say, like, when we're done this, I kind of wanted to do group smudge or prayer, because I know the pain that I unloaded right now is something that'll stick with you, and you'll think about it. But don't think about it in a totally negative way. Just think about it as, like, hey, we've just lightened the load for this person. And this is what we can do for other Indigenous people by listening and not trying to save anyone. Just listen. That's all you gotta do. We just want people to hear us out and understand that, like, hey, we're in pain. Don't try and solve our problems. Don't try and be a hero. Just listen. You want to be our hero? Just listen. That's all you gotta do. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out today. I really wish my grandma was here to see all these orange shirts. Because she didn't think that she would see this. I didn't think that I'd see this. I didn't think anyone was going to listen to us ever. Because before those bodies were found, before all this shit happened, nobody listened to us. Nobody cared. Thank you. Thank you for caring.
I was always taught to give something. So that's for you. on your healing journey as well.